Hello and welcome to the latest in Asia Gaming Brief's face-to-face series. Today I'm talking with DFNN CEO Calvin Lim. First, we touch upon how the businesses are recovering post-COVID. Now that these gaming outlets, they are opening up outside of Metro Manila, how's the demand been?
Well, I guess the expectation is that for the new normal, we cannot expect, if you talk about profitability or revenue, we cannot expect similar numbers pre-COVID immediately, right? Because there's a lot of restriction in place, such as curfews, occupancy reduction, senior citizens are not allowed to leave their homes, limited public transportation. But however, one thing that we notice from the operators that has already been operating for maybe a month or a couple of weeks is that the positive sign is that for the lack of other entertainment alternatives that are open, meaning that the rest of the entertainment outlets closed, we seem to feel that there is a high demand, more people flocking to the outlet operators. And we hope that becomes sticky and that transform into regular patrons or regular customers in the future, I guess giving it time.
In terms of the gaming business for DFNN, what do you see as the biggest growth areas?
Okay, I think I mentioned before that DFNN is a tech company, right? So from software development, we have our own proprietary IP platform, all the way to systems integration. The need to go online or to go mobile has never been greater. We have several initiatives in the pipeline, and I believe that will enable a very positive transformation that will revolutionize the industry moving forward. I can't really disclose much until things are properly materialized.
Can you give us a little clue?
Sorry?
Can you give us a little clue? What sort of area is it in?
Yeah, it's going again. It's all about the contactless or the online aspect of the business that is in a way looking into transforming the entire industry. I hope that makes sense.
Right, this would be the online gaming industry, the e-cafes, all of that sort of thing, or?
Okay, let me try to put it in a different way. Okay, so the whole business of e-casinos is that the particular individual needs to go to, or any retail for that matter, the individual needs to go to a outlet to perform that particular act of, or receive, or to do that service or product, right? So I guess the trend that we're looking at is trying to eliminate that contact. Like for example, like contact tracing, for example. We look at, instead of filling up a paper, now we have a method where you go online, there's a QR code, use your phone, you scan it, and then you register online. And so therefore you have complied to the contact tracing aspect of the current requirement by the DOH. Other transformations such as, like for example, this interview that we're having, it's basically online instead of a face-to-face sort of transformation. So the aspect of removing that physical presence interaction is what should and seems to be moving forward in the industry. I hope that makes sense.
It does. We'll look forward to seeing the initiatives when you can tell us a bit more about them then. Let's move on to sports betting. Could you outline a little bit what you're doing here and how much of a growth vertical is this in the Philippines?
Well, sports betting is basically an ever-growing industry. We look at the far west, like in the States, where certain regions are what do you call it, regulating sports betting. So we look at Philippines. Philippines has some form of variation of legalized sports betting for a fair bit of time. Philippines is predominantly a basketball-centric country, so therefore the betting seasons follows the NBA. for the numbers, of course, if you look at growth, we have to compare pre-COVID days. So pre-COVID, our numbers, 2018 versus 2019, our business actually grew by 40%, and that's a very, very positive sign. I guess the other aspect of sports betting, if you would like to include, is the esports, which has a vertical growth in terms of viewership, in terms of players. I think that got to do with a big thanks to the inclusion of esports in Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia Games, the SEA Games, that's being held in Philippines. I think that's first of its kind. And of course, during COVID, we see a spike in people playing and in viewership as well, who are playing online games at home. For the Philippines, because there is no, the act of betting cannot take place online, right? So it's all about distribution channel. It's all about how do you then reach out to the audience who wants to place a bet, for example. And of course, the more channels that you have, the more regulation is required. So the right steps needs to be taken properly to ensure a strong, steady growth that goes hand in hand with the regulator PARCOR. So all in all, I think post-COVID, we should see numbers back to pre-COVID, but of course, it takes time. And the industry seems to be on a upward trend.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So let's sort of move on again to Pogos. Obviously, there's been a lot of newspaper ink on them in recent weeks. Is this an area DFNN would consider?
I guess the whole definition of Pogo, Philippine online gaming operation or operators, right? Is which aspect of the involvement is DFN is or want to be. As of now, we have none because our focus for the next, I would say, year or two will be domestically, and that's where we are.
You said your focus is domestically, although I want to move on now to a recent transaction with one of your associate companies, which was very, very interesting. Hatch Asia buying into Silver Heritage. What was the strategic rationale for that particular deal? Okay,
I guess it's important to outline the whole context of DFNN's relationship. So DFN is a minority shareholder in Hatch, but we have enough representation or have enough shares to have one board representation. So it is recommended by DFNN's board that I would represent DFNN on Hatch Asia's board. Of course, this is pending the Hatch annual stockholders meeting and voting. So the strategic rationale, I would say that any company that wants to list its domestic businesses offshore or elsewhere is to be given the opportunity to have access to global capital. So with that, Hatch should have additional option for its corporate strategy. And I guess many people do ask me why ASX, right? If you look at the similarity in terms of Philippines and Australia, both countries are actually very highly regulated when it comes to gaming. And basically, it makes sense to list in a in a country where the environment understands gaming. Another aspect to point out that when Hatch do complete its listing activities, I believe that it will be the first Philippine company to be listed in the Australian Stock Exchange. So yeah.
That's a big move for you. What about Silver Heritage's casino assets? I mean, will they be sold on, or will you become operators?
Okay, so to understand what Hatch is buying, the previous Silver Heritage is under, or the current Silver Heritage is under receivership. So it went into administration. So the purchase is basically for the shell company. It's a cash consideration of, I believe it's Australian dollars 530,000, and it's in totality of 92% of the issued shares. Whether there is anything that's going to transpire after. I guess further details will be disclosed once they are finalized.
Oh, I see. So you basically, it is just the shell company, not the assets.
Yes, as for now, it's yes, that's correct. It's for the shell company.